Evocation reports are one of the most important type of magical document you can read. From a reputable source, at least. If you're reading a evocation report from an unreliable source, it will generally make you think that the person is crazy, and this is to be expected. So on today's episode, we will be going over magical evocation reports, how they work, why you should write them, and how they should function in your general practice. I am Dave, the Amateur Magus. On this channel, I talk all about the mechanics behind ceremonial magic, occultism, esotericism, and the mechanics behind everything you can find within a dusty old grimoire. If you enjoy my content and want to support the channel, please go down the Patreon link in the description, where you can get exclusive access to various different exclusive content, such as the Occultic Manual series, which is a monthly write-up that is more advanced than what I have here on the channel, but less advanced than an old grimoire. And if you're already watching this on Patreon, you have my thanks for your continued and ongoing support. An evocation report is effectively a transcript of your evocation with the spirit. You are going to have questions, you are going to write down answers. Now, when it comes down to how you should be taking notes, I recommend having a physical book and a physical piece of paper and a physical pen. And this is how I typically will do my evocations. I will be writing down the notes, as it were. In traditional dual evoker scryer setups, the evoker will be doing the transcript and they will be writing down all of the information that the scryer is telling them. A good example of this is Dr. John Dee's diaries. This is where we get a lot of Dr. John Dee's work is from his diaries and his scrying experiences with previously a different scryer and then eventually Sir Edward Kelly, who was not at the time known as Sir Edward Kelly, but would eventually become Sir Edward Kelly. But for the most part, we're not actually going to have an evoker scryer set up if we're alone in a ritual situation and we just have ourselves in a chair. So we're going to have to be doing the role of both evoker and scryer, and typically when I'm doing this, I like to, as part of the preliminaries, establish that I will be writing down all of the notes and the various different responses from the spirit in question. Now, you're going to begin your evocation reports with the obvious thing, which is going to be the name, when you evoked it, and everything that you would need before actually doing any evocation stuff. Yeah, this is going to be the busy work, and you're basically putting a heading at the top of your report. For those of you who remember writing reports back in school, this is the same concept here. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to have your spirit tests. And this is because if you're weary about the validity of an evocation, what you can do is you can check the spirit tests. Now, I've recommended, and I have better examples of this in the stuff on the Patreon, the occultic manuals, but I recommend a spirit test that you can verify using mundane means such as the infinite oracle known as Google. This is what I highly recommend you do, like which phase of the moon was it on this day over 100 years ago. And you could use that because spirits are supposed to live in the infinite now, and they are not supposed to be able to, they are not beholden to time in a linear fashion like we humans are. So the first thing you're going to do is spirit tests, which we just covered. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to have questions. Now, your questions are going to be, these should be well thought out in advance. You don't want to just go into an evocation with some powerful demonic king or some powerful archangel and not actually have any particular thing ready. You don't want to just be like, hello, I'm calling to ask you questions. And then they ask, okay, what are your questions? And then you go, I don't know, because that doesn't make any sense. And that's kind of a, that's very poor form overall. So we're going to want to have our questions in advance. Now, just because you have questions in advance does not mean the only questions you're going to be asking are those questions that you have written down. But when you are in trance state, you are probably going to, you might forget, which is where we come to the third section of this. This is going to be anything that is a follow-up question. You're going to have a follow-up question section, and that follow-up section is going to be at the end, after you bind the spirit into silence, and this is where you are kind of making your word to where you are going to be, you're not going to be revealing the contents of the evocation report past a specific section. Now, this is where if you ever read or you hear a evocation report where the person is actually going to share it out, there might be some sections where you see like it is kind of a data expunged type situation. You're not usually going to reveal those details, and you're usually not even going to reveal what the question is if you're sharing this out with people. Usually, if you're going to be doing an evocation and you have some sensitive, I am sworn to secrecy, you just kind of say, and that's where I ended the evocation, because you want it to be completely secret and you don't want people asking questions. But you are also going to ask follow-up questions, and the follow-up questions can be on either side of that line of silence. But generally speaking, it's better to ask questions on both sides to know what the spirit is not willing to tell the public, so to speak. What a spirit is willing to tell you in private versus what they are willing to tell you in a way that they will know it will be conveyed to other people is very different in every circumstance in my experience. And it is important to realize that before you start going off and you start trying to give all of these different spirits and you try to start evoking and talking to all of these different spirits. Maybe you're a necromancer, maybe you want to start talking to ghosts, maybe you want to talk to angels, maybe you want to talk to demons, because that's, God knows that that's a popular thing. All occultists should understand the value of silence, and these reports are no different. Now, when you go about finishing your evocation, you should probably type these up. And at the end, when you are done with your notes, you should be transcribing your notes into some kind of document as a backup copy, usually. And you should note anything weird. And anything weird here is going to be if at some point in the evocation you remember feeling a certain way or you seem to pick up on something, you should make a note about it and you should put that in the evocation report. Now, your mind and your memory of the evocation might change a little bit as you get out of the evocation. Things might seem more vivid or less vivid than when you are actually doing the evocation. This is why you are writing down the reports in the moment, because in the moment you can just focus on what the spirit is saying word for word, and then when you are done with the evocation you can mention any visuals or the like in cases of spirits not usually talking in words. Some spirits will not talk in words. Some spirits will only talk in visuals, such as the Archangel Gabriel usually will talk in images predominantly. And keep in mind when I say words, I don't mean like physical words, like you won't hear them in your physical ears. You will usually have your brain auto-correcting to speech if you hear them in tangible speech at all. And the final thing is, where should you post your evocation report after you've edited it up, typed all of the stuff you want to add to it, and where should you post it? And the correct answer is you should make it a Word document, you should save it, and you should date it, and you should mention what spirit it was, and you should go back to it later. You shouldn't post it unless you were already planning on doing so. But if you were already planning on doing so, you should know where to post it. For the sake of argument, I'm just going to say that most people should not be posting their evocation reports online. I feel like most people should keep their spiritual matters private, and I feel like that is just kind of going to be the overall best thing you can do. But if for some reason you decide that you want to post it somewhere, you can go into a spiritual group or a group of occultists and post it there, and that is probably going to be the best place for it. That being said, if you would like to join the Discord community, it's link in the description, along with, once again, a link to the Patreon if you would like to support my content. Hope everyone is having a good day, and if you're not having a good day, hope your day gets better. Take it easy, take care, and thanks for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.